So I want to start out with here and talk more about money. What I've learned over 30 years in this industry, an industry that I absolutely love. I love outdoor living. I love taking ideas, crazy ideas clients might have or ideas you might have, putting them on paper or in a design, going through that process, figuring out, going deep with customers, and then taking that, building it, and walking in it. Isn't that the most amazing thing? Think how blessed we are. We get to do this every day. We have to sometimes come out and take the microscope away, and because we're so focused on our problems and how we don't have enough and we don't have this and we don't have that, and realize how much impact we're having on people's lives. Think about that. We're not just building backyards and adding square footage to people's backyards. We're creating spaces where their children will get married. That birthday party is going to be back there, and that's going to be the backdrop to their whole life. They have 18 summers to capture something they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. That's what we do. And we're blessed every single day to do that. And it's exciting when you have big mission and all that, but then you have this whole problem with, holy crap, how am I going to charge that much? Anybody ever have that in the past? You look at the numbers, you're using SynkedUP, you know your numbers, and you're like, no way, Mrs. Jones is not going to spend $123,000. There's no way. She drives a Kia. There's no way she's going to do that. Oh, crap, I got to bring my numbers down. I know Wes says never discount, but I can finagle this and that. And, well, that truck just disappeared off the balance sheet, so I can bring my numbers down a little lower. Why do we do that? Why? For the men that, what's that? Fear. Exactly. For the men in the room, they don't typically say that, only because they're scared it looks like weakness. But how many of you guys have fear from time to time? Come on, raise your hands up. Look around, everybody. How about a fear of failure? Come on, be honest, if you're being honest. How about a fear of what other people think? Look around, everybody. You don't own that. That's not yours. So when we're running our businesses and trying to do the best we can, running insane hours, and we find ourselves just wore out, and we sit back and ask why. Why are we wore out? What is it all for? Why do we keep doing this? Why do we get up every single day and just hope by the end of the day it's better? Why do we do it? Well, oftentimes, it's because we think there's something better, right? Somebody shout out why they started the business. They gave up a 40-hour-a-week guaranteed paycheck with maybe some stress, but you could go home, you can go on vacation, you can disappear for a job that is an 80-hour job that you're probably your worst boss, and no certainty, no clarity, no idea of what's coming next. Anybody know why you would take that leap to go from known to unknown? What's in it for us? Why?
Survival.
Survival, that's good. Creativity.
Freedom.
Freedom, baby. That's why we do it. But deep down, we're yearning for freedom to do what we want with whoever we want for as long as we want, anywhere we want. Get an amen. Is that true? Is that true? Isn't that what we're after? Deep down, what we're after. Then why is it then so darn difficult? Why is it so hard? Over the last 30 years in this industry, I've found that one of the biggest reasons is because of this thing we have on our shoulders called our head. And it mucks a lot of things up. You know, the biggest battle you'll ever face in life, it's not external. It's not employees, it's not labor, it's not any of those things. It's just 6 inches of real estate between your ears. It's a battleground. Battleground. Every human manages that battleground. So when it comes to money, it's no different. It is no different. So before I get any further, for anybody who doesn't know me, I started in this industry about 30 years ago. And I'm going to even back it up a little further than that. The first time I was even aware of money was when I was 5 years old. So imagine, I think it's next slide, 5 years old. So I'm 5 years old, and my mother is getting a little crazy because her 2 boys are going off to school. And so she started to raise some plants inside the house. She loved to raise things. Inside the house, on the windowsill, a bow window in the house. Well, after a while, bow windows made out of wood started to rot. So my father's like, all right, I'll build you a little greenhouse. Got a Quonset hut, little bows, and built this little greenhouse. She was happy as heck. She had tons of plants left over, and she's like, what am I going to do with all these? The garden's full. So she put a little sign out at the end of the lane, and she said, plants for sale. She started a garden center. Well, I watched customers come in and out of that garden center, and I watched them give my mom money for plants that she raised. And she was very passionate about raising her plants, making sure they're the best ones, nice and healthy, all that stuff. So I got the opportunity to watch her do something she loved and make money doing it. And it set a seed inside of me. I'm like, well, if my mom's doing it, I wonder if I could do that. So I got my little red wagon, and with all of my 5-year-old ingenuity, I went out into the fields, and I'm like, there's a lot of rocks around here. We live like all cornfields everywhere. And I was like, there's a lot of rocks around here. Maybe somebody would pay me for a rock. I'm like, what do I got to lose? I'm 5 and I got a wagon. I'm like, I don't have any overhead. So I grab a hold of the wagon and I start dragging it out, and I start finding all these really cool rocks, and I put them in the wagon, and I drag them back, and I put them right at the entrance of the garden center, which was the porch of the back of the house. And I would sit there and wait for customers, maybe one every couple of days to come in, right? And I would wait for them to come in, and they would pick out a rock, and they said, well, how much do you want for it? I'm like, I don't know. I never did this before. I'm like, how much will you pay me? A quarter, a nickel, whatever, right? So it was, and then I said, all right, well, the rock business is going well. Now I need to expand, right? Because these are kind of getting boring. I can just find them. People are buying them. It's nice. So then I went out and I found all these tiger lilies that were growing along the road, and they were flowering. I was like, oh, doggy, I hit pay dirt here. So I went along and dug them out, put them in pots, and sold them for $1. And I was like, that was working. I was like, this is great. I tell this story because that was the first time that I realized that I could add value and get paid for it. And that started and set a seed within me to think about how else could I do that. Now my brother and I both grew up in that garden center, and we worked 7 days a week. We didn't get paid as a family business. You had food, you always had plenty of entertainment, which is fixing everything and taking care of customers. And it was a good life, really good life. We didn't know anything else, it wouldn't matter. I can't believe how much free labor my parents got. That's pretty wild. But anyway, with all that being said, at a certain point around age 18, some of the customers started coming to the garden center. It was growing. My father quit his public job and came into the garden center, and they started growing it out with more greenhouses. And I remember customers coming in, and they're like, hey, will your sons, to my father, will your sons build stuff? And like, on the farm, we did everything ourselves. Like, we couldn't afford anybody. You needed an engine in the car. I don't know how to do it. We didn't have YouTube back then, so we just figured it out. Ask grandpa or ask uncle or something like that. And that's just what it was. We did everything. So with that, people started coming and asking, can you guys do this kind of work? And we're like, well, yeah. And I'm thinking, like, I wonder how much they'd pay for that. Anyway, I'll never forget the moment when a customer came in, our first customer, and said, I'll pay your boys $1,000 a day to come out and work at my house. It's like $1,000 a day. And I'm thinking, there's 7 days in a week. We're rich. This is amazing. I have no money. So I'm like, this is amazing. And that's how we started our first company. It's Timber Rock Landscaping. And we did all design build work. We built all kinds of cool projects. Started out with the most basic stuff. We had a little pickup truck and a wheelbarrow. Honestly, it was the simplest truck you could get. It was my dad's truck. And we ran that thing into the ground. And we did everything from bank cleanups along the river to, we didn't know anything about pavers or water features or anything. We just knew plants, so we just did a lot of that. And that grew and grew and grew. And we eventually started doing patios and loved doing water features and all of that kind of stuff. So I say all of that story because at a certain point, about 15 years into that journey, my brother and I didn't get along. It was my brother, my father, and I in that business. We didn't get along anymore. So I said, look, I got to do something. Either we're going to split the company up or I'm leaving. So I left and started Master Plan, which is my current practice. Now, what I decided to do is take a lot of the ideas that I had in the design build world and put it into a model that I thought was a lot simpler and a lot less overhead, which put me into the design manage world. Been very blessed. We do a lot of really cool projects. You'll see some of them later. And it shifted the way that I saw money. It really shifted because I couldn't believe that people, I don't know if this shocks any of you guys, I know it did for me in the beginning, that people actually have a savings account with like money in it. Does that shock anybody? Because it shocked the heck out of me, because I didn't have any money. So I was like, we'd walk by our pond on the farm, and the ducks would throw bread at us. So it's like, not a whole lot, right? And the next thing you know, I always love that one. Anyway, so when I started working with customers, I kept thinking like, all right, well, this bid came out to like $5,000. And I'd be like, oh crap, like, I'm thinking to myself, I don't have any money in the bank. So I'm like, $5,000? And they're like, yeah, it sounds good. I'm like, you have $5,000 in the bank somewhere? And that kept going, $15,000, $20,000, $100,000. I couldn't believe that people had savings. It was wild. Because my mindset around money was completely different than my customers. And what I had to be really careful, and all of us in here need to be careful of, is that we don't cast our money mindset on our customer. We don't look at that and say, I wouldn't pay that much for that. Anybody guilty of that? Be honest. Does it scare you sometimes when you see the numbers that come out of SynkedUP and you're like, oh boy, this is scary stuff. 6 figures. And what's the biggest fear we have when we present that? Rejection. Because guess what, guys? That rejection we know logically is a no to the project, but what does it feel like to us? That you were rejected. And imagine years of that, being told no and rejected. What do you think that does to your soul? You start thinking, I'm a reject. I'm not worthy. So you start lowering your prices. Well, if I can get the prices low enough and bid low enough, the next thing you know, somebody will say yes and I can feel happy for a moment. We need to change, or first of all, we need to become aware of our own psychology around money, and then we need to look at how do we adjust that? Because the cool thing about the brain, you aren't your thoughts, right? Can we all agree on that? You're not your thoughts, you're just witnessing them. So if we're not our thoughts, we might have some influence on them, right? So imagine if we could hijack that, I'm not worthy, and slow it down and be like, whoa, maybe not like land that plane, but back it up a little bit and think, maybe I just need to approach this client a little different. Maybe there's a different strategy here. Money stories. All right, some money stories I grew up with was money don't grow on trees, but I'm like, we live a garden center. Everything we sell has leaves on it. I'm like, that's what I was told. It's like, okay. Next up is we can't afford that. Okay. Next up, rich people are greedy. Anybody ever hear that one? Rich people are greedy. Next up, it takes hard work to earn money. Anybody live by that? Anybody, if money is given to them easily, they're like, that can't be real. There's no way. I didn't earn that, so I'll just go spend it, or I got to get it out of my pocket because I can't have that in there. I didn't earn it. I didn't sweat for it. Wouldn't it be nice if that wasn't the case? Money is the root of all evil. So my question to you guys, what are some of the money stories that you were taught growing up? Just spit them out, yell them out. Come on.
Money doesn't buy happiness.
Money doesn't buy happiness. Very good. What else? What other money stories did you guys grow up with? Come on. They're out there. Come on, one more and we'll move on. What do you got?
Money is the root of all evil.
Money is the root of all evil. So if these are the stories that we have in our head, money is the root of all evil, got to work hard for money, how do you think we're showing up to our customers with that mindset? Are we showing up ready to serve them, or are we in a situation where we're not even sure what we're worth or that we're even worthy of charging that much money? Does it make sense? Question is, are those stories empowering or disempowering? How come those stories are so easy? How come the disempowering stories are so simple and they just seem to sneak in there, kind of populate the environment, versus empowering stories like, no, dude, I am worth every dollar that I'm charging here because my time is the most valuable asset that I have, most precious asset. But I'm giving it away for free because I'm afraid, there's fear of rejection. Question is, are those stories true? Is money truly the root of all evil? It says in the Bible that it's the love of money that is the root of all evil. Not money itself. Money's just we'll get to that in a minute. Question is, and what I'm trying to build in you guys here, and I hope this is what you take away from this time that we spend together, the more you become aware of these inner dialogue, the stories that are going on in your head, the more you can affect a change in them, right? The more you realize that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. We all have these stories. If we can listen to them, find them, hear them, and affect a change in them, it could change your entire life. Even more than synced up. Sorry, Wes. Because I don't care if you've got all the perfect numbers, you got the best equipment, the best teams. If your brain's not right when it comes to money, and you don't feel like you could charge or you're not worth something, you're going to constantly knock yourself out. I know that was my story. I didn't know how to do it. I couldn't believe people had that kind of money. I didn't know how to manage that kind of money, $10,000. I'm like, what do I do with this? It's like I had a hot potato. I didn't know what to do with it. Put it in the bank. I don't know what to do. Spend this? How much should I spend? How much should I save? Like, I have no idea. And those stories, how did they affect your relationship with money? How do they affect it now? Thoughts, questions to ponder. Because that translates right into your ability to sell your projects. If you've got a poor money mindset, you will struggle to sell. I don't care how much training you go through in our program or how great you know your numbers, you're going to constantly knock yourself out. Anybody feeling any of this? Am I just talking to myself here? Or is this right? And I'm not telling you this because I'm trying to talk at you. I'm telling you this because I lived this. Years I sat in my head feeling alone, feeling like I was broken, like there was something wrong with me. That no matter how hard I worked, I felt like every year in April, once I paid the tax man, my entire year started again like I was starting a brand new business. Anybody ever feel that? Like the whole year you save, made money, and we have seasons. So come winter, we got 3 weeks worth of winter or 3 months worth of winter time. And next thing you know, come April, I'm out of money. I'm starting the entire thing over again and do that cycle for years. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Growing up, how does our brain take in money behaviors?
We're born at a stage where the brain isn't fully developed yet. And a lot of the final development of the brain happens outside in the world, compared to other species.
And so the brain is taking in information and is putting it into categories, is making associations, is making narratives from an early age.
And we start to develop these thoughts that are called money scripts. And so just like an actor is given a script and told in a scene how to act, when certain things happen around money, our brain gives us a certain thought, and then we know the script and how we're going to act.
Our early experiences in our family system and directly around money have a profound impact on our beliefs around money, and our beliefs around money predict our financial outcomes. If you grew up poor, money is something that's scary. Not having money is scary. The problem is that as you grow older, maybe you do have money, but you still have that fear. You still have that anxiety because you can't shake that belief. There'll never be enough money.
On the other side, folks who might be really affluent and privileged, they might think money can solve every problem, but not build up mental toughness or withstand things that sometimes money can't solve.
And so children are being constantly exposed to the attitudes, the mindsets, and the behaviors of their parents and other loved ones around them and their relationship around money.
If all of this is happening at an early age, what are the real-world effects later in adulthood? Kathleen and Brad were kind enough to share their own stories growing up.
My mother gave me some money to go buy milk. It was the good old days when you could go buy milk when you were a kid unsupervised. And so I ran off with my friend. We got the milk, and I can remember there was a nickel change. And when I got home, I gave my mother the milk, but I did not give her the nickel. And of course I got in trouble. What I walked away with was my love of money is shameful, that there's something wrong with my desire to hang on to this nickel that is not okay. And so as an adult, what is interesting is I've always been good at managing the money, making money, but my love of money, my desire as an entrepreneur to be profitable, actually I had to work through some of that shame and that discomfort, I think because I was sent the message that it's not okay, Kathleen, that you love money so much that you want to keep it.
So I think I associated not having money with pain and anxiety and family strife. My mom likes to say we were middle class except lower. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, they got words for that. In my understanding my own financial psychology, I went home and I interviewed my mother. I didn't understand why she was so afraid to invest. And then she told me this story about my grandfather, which all of a sudden made my crazy relationship with money make perfect sense. My grandfather went to the bank one day and his money was gone. It was the Great Depression. The banks closed. He never put $1 in the bank the rest of his life. He died in his 90s, keeping his money in a lockbox. So understanding that family pattern, it really gave me compassion for my grandfather and my mother, because of course my mom's anxious about money. She's too anxious to invest. She was raised by a guy who wouldn't even put money in the bank. So we have these conclusions we walk away with around money. Rich people are greedy, or money corrupts, or you can never have enough money, or there's virtue in having less money. These are all beliefs that we've studied that get inherited and emerge from our experiences around money.
So the question is, what is money? We got to start at the foundation. Throw your hands up. What is money?
Stored energy.
Stored energy. Love that.
Tool. A vehicle.
Vehicle.
A tool.
Tool.
A means exchange.
A means. What else we got? What is money?
Comfort.
Comfort.
Equipment.
Equipment. Synced up. What else is money, guys?
Safety.
Safety. Time. Survival. Freedom. Temporary. I like that.
Form of exchange.
Form of exchange. Oxygen. So I'm going to go to the one who said temporary. Excellent. So with that response to what money is, do you think he's gonna, with that mindset, please just not be using it as a sacrificial lamb here, right? So with that mindset of money is temporary, what do you think, what could you pontificate on? What could you think about would be his relationship with it? It could be lost. Anybody else?
No security.
No security.
He saves.
He saves it. There's a fear in there, right? We all have it, if you're being honest. Money, by definition, is a medium of exchange and a measure of value. Right, kind of boring. The reality is money is a story. You guys all gave me stories of what it is. Who's writing your story around money? Was it your parents? Did they write your story around money? Spouse? Environment? Teachers? Who wrote your story on money? Think about this. If you get this one nugget from what I talk about, it could change your life. Imagine someone who says that it can be lost, right? And then flips that story, decides for a different story. What's a different story you could have that would empower you? What do you think, Chris? What's a story you could have around money that would empower you from your original? What's that?
Do good with it.
That you're good with money. So what was your original?
Do good with it.
Do good with it. Okay.
Do good.
So what was your original?
Temporary.
That money is temporary,
Need.
right? And you just went in and said, okay, that was the story that came out of me first, but now you're being purposeful. And what is your new story?
Do something good with it.
You can do something good with it. Do you guys feel a difference with that? How much further will this man go with that new mindset? He just had to be aware first of what money was and what his story is around it. And then he's able to shift that. He just did that in a minute. How fast could you guys do that stuff? The first step, though, is you have to be aware. We have to become aware of the stories that are going on in our head. The reason why we love stories is because for thousands of years, we used to sit around campfires and tell stories of the day, of the fight or the battle, or we went out to get food and we battled this tiger. That's how we communicated. We didn't have phones and telephones. We didn't have any of that communication, the internet. So we did it around fires. Our brains think in stories. And there's a whole story dialogue going on in your head all the time. And most of us aren't privy to it. Only because we aren't aware yet. Once you become aware and you tune into the station that's going on inside, you can then be like, you know what? This radio station sucks. I don't like jazz. I'm going to rock and roll. You have the choice. You can do that. You see how fast that Chris did it? And him showing up like that to clients, do you think you'll have a better response or a better outcome? All within the parameters of the 6 inches of real estate. Money is a story. It's a story that you make it. It's just paper itself. It really has no value, but it's a story you all believe about it. And the question, like I've asked before, is who wrote that story for you? Did you write it? Did you sit down one day and pen out what your story around money is going to be? Anybody do that? I know I certainly didn't. I absorbed it from the environment I grew up in. I absorbed it from the school I went to. I absorbed it by what I saw in my environment. But imagine if you could be purposeful and rewrite that story in an empowering way. How much could that change your life? And not just in business, everywhere. It's trust and belief at the end of the day. You know, we're talking about this within ourselves. Can you imagine that when you're sitting across the table asking for $100,000 from a client, do you think that they've got a perfect money story? Or do you think they battle the same stuff we do? The emotion that comes with letting go. If money's temporary and you've got 100 grand sitting there, you're like, that might be my last 100 grand. When we ask for these big numbers from clients, it's emotional. It's not just numbers for us. It's not just pallets of pavers and labor, throw some markup on top of that. This is deep. And if we aren't aware of that, or we're not willing to work in that environment and understand our clients are emotional creatures too, we just show up and don't care. And when they don't feel that we care, they're much less likely to work with you. If they're just like, I'm all about the money, here it is 100 grand, pay me, and you haven't had the opportunity to sit down with them and truly understand why they may not want to move forward. We call them objections in the sales world, right? Those objections started way, way, way before, even years before you put that contract on the table. They're not just for you. That's the world. This is how they treat the world because of that money story. You guys picking up what I'm putting down here?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty wild, right? You're like, whoa. All right, at least I'm saying that. So the question next is, if we know what money is, it's a story, then what determines what something's worth? I didn't say someone, I said something. What determines what something's worth? Anybody want to guess? What's that? Value? Okay.
Somebody's willing to pay for it.
What they're willing to pay for it? Emotional connection. All right. Well, hold that thought. I want to show you the difference between value and worth. Value is a feeling and worth is a number. Don't put them together. They aren't the same thing. So much of value is around the story and the emotion that you're creating for your customer and their transformation. Remember, and this is sometimes tough for contractors to remember. I know it took me a while. We are around this world every day. Every single day, we know what pavers cost, we know what backyards cost, we know what pools cost, we know what pergolas cost, we know what lighting costs. We know that stuff. For us, it makes no sense that others, i.e. our customers, don't know that. We just assume they do. Of course, you're alive, you live under a rock, a pool is 80 grand to start. You don't know that? If we go in with that kind of attitude, are we making a relationship and a connection, or are we alienating ourselves? They don't know. They might do this once or twice in a lifetime. And maybe they got their idea for what that pool or patio is going to cost with their great uncle that had a guy in Nebraska do it for him 25 years ago. And they nearly associated a patio equals $10,000. I want a patio. I got $10,000. Let's do it. Then you show up with a $20,000 bid, and you think it's about you. It's not about you. This is their money story where they think their value is coming. Like this is about, they don't realize that inflation has added 50% across the board. Our dollar has devalued in the last 5 years, 50%. You all feel it at the supermarket. You see it when you're buying stuff. And it's not going to change. It's going to get worse. The clients are still stuck in 5 years ago pre-COVID cost structures. So when you're showing them that pool that was $35,000 a couple of years ago and now it's close to 50 or 80, they're like, this guy's taking advantage of me. This girl's got to be out of her mind. What am I missing here? It's just a pool. Think about this, guys. When you're sitting across the table with people, they're emotional creatures just like you. They're trying to figure it out too. And if you're not tying into that, if you're not understanding that it's the story and the emotion that's really driving that, it's not your bid, then you're missing a massive opportunity to serve more people. Value types. There's market value. And if you don't have enough crews, materials rise, whatever, that can drive market value. More competition can lower it, of course, if just like COVID. COVID came, everybody was happy, everybody was order takers, they didn't have to sell anything. People were just showing up, lining up, they'd wait a year, it didn't matter. They wanted it then. They had cheap money in their house, they could pull it out, and they were buying stuff. But then what happened a few years later? Kind of went back in most places like it used to be. Or even worse, because the big glut that was all done, everybody spent their money, and now they're like, I don't know what's coming next. So fear took over again. Then you have perceived value. Well, what is it worth? Maybe it's like if you've got a great brand, you have a higher value, potentially. Apple, Samsung, whatever. Different phone companies, different value. If you're an off name, then they aren't going to pay as much, most likely. And will these spaces hold memories, birthdays, family time, that kind of stuff? Intrinsic, is it like a piece of gold where there's value inside of that object? Do they feel enough of that as you are working with them through the sales process? And then personal value. It's not about the money, it's about the dream. Would you believe that 80% of the decision that's made for your outdoor project, do you think it's logical or emotional? Logical, put the hands up. Okay, we got logical, emotional. Okay, hold that thought. Now, we're gonna have a little exercise here, guys, and you did an amazing job as I came in, so let's keep up that energy. I know it's after lunch. Everybody's bellies are processing and you're fighting to stay awake. I think you guys will enjoy this. So I want you to come from the, and ladies, you probably are gonna be better at this, so maybe you pipe down. You'll see in a minute. What would you pay for that? Come on, come on. I wish I was one of those guys that can do that stuff. Anyway, what would you pay for that? If you saw that and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna buy that for my wife, what would you pay for it? Come on, spit out numbers. There's no wrong numbers. $4,000. We got a $4,000 bid. What else we got out there? How much? 500 bucks. 1,500. 100 bucks. So that's how much you would pay for that to make your women happy. Hey, that's good. It's a $4,600 handbag. $4,600 for that thing. Next, how about this one? That's what you see, ladies, why you probably know this better. Anyway, yeah. So how much would you pay for your wives for this handbag? $8,000? Whatever it costs. Depends on how much hot water you're in. See? What else, guys? How many else? Over there. $1. Okay, but that's, dude, look, it's diamond encrusted palladium with crocodiles on it, or in it, on it, whatever it is. How much would you pay for it? One more. 500 bucks. Who buys this stuff? All right, we're gonna switch gears here a little bit. So, gentlemen, once again, throw some numbers out. What would you pay for these things? What's that? Tilt rotator. These are actually the shoes I'm wearing. But anyway, that's how I can stand up here. It's tough coming in. But anyway, numbers. What do you guys think? Throw some numbers out. How much you think would you? 2,000. 3K. How much? $12 or 1,000? All right. I got pair out my car if you want. $45.95. How about these guys? If you don't do high heels, come on, throw some numbers out. 75 bucks. Man in the corner. How much? 125. 1,200. 1,000. Can you even believe that? Who in their right mind would spend that much money on a pair of shoes? And they do it every day. Only a few people, of course, but. All right. How about this bad boy? How much? 100K. What else we got? Come on, guys. 12K. 25 grand. 9,500 bucks. Next one. How about this bad boy? $500,000. What else we got? 100 grand. What else we got? One more. Spit it out. $50 million. I didn't make this stuff up, guys. It's on the internet, so. What's that? You can't see it. You can't see it. 7 million. It's a little bit low on the screen. Oh, okay. So call the number out. All right, so 7 million plus tax. Anyway, don't forget that part. Probably a tariff. Anyway, all right. How about this one? Last one. How about this one? How much would you pay for that? $75,000? Chickens? Chicken. Okay. Two more. More. 100,000 and $30. $20. It's crazy, right? Now, I did this as a fun exercise to demonstrate something. This is how your customers see your projects. They have no freaking clue. How could they? I don't know anything about designer bags or shoes or watches. That's not my world. Yet you show up with a proposal and a design, you sit on a table, and you're like, holy crap, like, what was that? And you wonder why they're not saying yes. If you knew that this watch was $20 or the other one was 7 million and you were going there expecting it to cost 7 million, well, that's a little bit easier to sell, isn't it? But if you were expecting a $20 watch and you get a $7 million bill or a proposal in front of you, do you think that might sour the trust relationship? Remember, we see this every single day. Our customers do this once or twice in a lifetime. And if we're not knowledgeable about that little fact and we don't demonstrate our value, we don't learn how to do that. Demonstrate our value so that our customers feel safe. Because ultimately they want to feel safe. We're building trust, we're building relationships. We're not just selling backyards. Again, I'm going to go back to that question. Is that logical to spend $7 million on a watch or even $20? Or is that emotional? Hands up for emotional. What do we sell, guys? Emotional. We don't sell logical. So think about the situation when your customers are getting 3 bids because they were taught always to do that. And they get 3 bids and each bid looks, we'll call it similar. You've got bid A, B, and C. They're all on paper and they're making a decision like responsible people do. And they look and they said, well, it's a 400 square foot patio. Okay. That's what they said here. It's we're going to build you a paver patio, blah, 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 paver, this kind of warranty, and it's going to be $10,000. Don't kill me on the numbers. $10,000 to simplicity. The next one says, same basic things, 1,000 or 400 square foot patio, and it's going to be $12,000. And the next one is same basic verbiage, and it says $14,000. And the customer looks at it, A, B, and C, with no real discernible difference between them, and they make a decision. If one doesn't look different, or they didn't have a different experience with the salesperson or the team, they all look the same. Can we agree to that? Just like if you're going to buy a new Ford truck, and you went out and you wanted a white Ford truck, 2024, 150, whatever, and you're like, there's 3 of them in a row. This one's 18, I know I'm way off, 18,000, 20,000, and 22. And they have the same mileage on them. Like, why would you spend more for the same thing, same package, same truck? This is the kind of decisions that we're making our clients make for themselves. If we're not discernibly different, if all they did was see numbers and maybe a design, but never felt anything from the contractor, how do you differentiate? You are now thrown into that pit of lowest bidder. And they're going to make the logical, responsible decision to go with the cheapest one. Wouldn't you? If it looks the same, you and I know that they're not going to build them the same, but they don't. They've never seen the watches or the handbags. They don't know what this stuff's supposed to cost. So they are working from an emotional framework. And if we're not, as sales professionals, if we're not understanding that, we're missing a massive opportunity. Anybody want to guess what the closing rate is in our industry right now for closing projects? If they went out to 10 projects, how many they'd actually bring in? 2. What else we got? 7? 3? It's 25%, guys. 2.5. I don't know what the half project is, but 2.5. That means that 7.5 projects you went on and you wasted your time. You stole that time from your kids. You stole it from the time to work on your business and build it, to learn SynkedUP. It was robbed right from you. Yeah, let's let it keep happening. because we're not connecting with our customers and building relationships. It's not our priority. I've been blessed in the outdoor living industry and have had the opportunity to build a lot of fun projects. And my question for you, as I roll through these couple of pictures, is I want you to shout out if this is a logical purchase or an emotional purchase. Okay? What do you guys think? Is that logical or emotional? Okay. What about this side? Emotional. Okay. How about this one? You like that, right? No permits on that puppy. It's mobile. So we have the logical. You like that? Hook it right up to it. Logical or emotional? Logical or emotional? Logical or emotional? Logical or emotional? Come on, guys. You get it. Logical or emotional? These are the things we're building, guys. How are you connecting emotionally with your customers? And I know the ladies get this naturally. They're gifted. God wired them that way. Us, yeah, not so much. Oftentimes it can be just logical because we've got 5 projects to look at and we got to do it in an hour and we got to get the heck out. I got a 20-minute ride between them. And we go in there and we're like, all right, Mrs. Jones, here's what we got, blah, blah. Here's a technical block catalog. You figure it out and I'll get you back an estimate here soon. And then the customer's like, okay, sure. I got 74 different choices here. I have no idea. Nobody's guiding me. And then you go off to your next meeting. Imagine what kind of position you put your customers in when you do that. Do you think you put them in a state of more certainty or less certainty? Less certainty. And do people buy more when they're certain or uncertain? So wouldn't we want to try to come up with a way to make sure our customers feel certain about what we're doing? To build so much value that they think they're absolutely insane not to go with you? Imagine that. Huh. So, question for you as I'm getting closer to the end here. Do you want to make more money? Yeah. Anybody in here not want to make more money? There's always one. Okay. They keep telling us work harder, right? Grind harder. Get out there. Put more hours in. You heard the guys. Sam, like, I got to get up at 4 now. I got to get up at 3. I got to get up at 2. I'm not even going to sleep anymore. I need to work harder and burn yourself out. I say BS to that. Because working harder does not equal more money. Can we agree on that? Anybody in here worked really hard and made no money? I'm the first one to put my hand up for that one. Worked really freaking hard, and at the end you're like, I got nothing to show for it. Because if hard work made you wealthy, every paver contractor working 80 hours a week would be rich. Every one of us. We would have some serious bank. So, do you understand that working harder does not make people more money? It just means you're working harder. Top 5 contractor pricing lies. I have to be the cheapest. Anybody ever use that one like I did? Thinking, man, I got to be the cheapest because I don't have to show up. I don't have to add a lot of value. That's not what I'm thinking, but inside I'm like, I just want this to be quick. I need work. I got payroll coming in. I just got to get this project out. They say yes. My clients won't pay more. Whose money story is that? Yours or theirs? And who can influence their money story? One more time. Who can influence their own money story? We can. That's right. If I charge too much, I'm greedy. Oh, goodness. You have to spend money to make money. Anybody ever hear that one before? Right? Again, I call BS on that. You need to add value to make money. This is a value game, guys. This is all about how much value you can, and the person who wins the project most of the time, not every time, most of the time is the one who brought the most value to the relationship, not to the sale, not to the project, to the relationship, because people are buying your relationship, not just your end product. Is that landing with anybody here? Does that make sense? And I'm just not good with money. Kind of like my story in the beginning, like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. I don't know what to do with this. If this is the kind of mindset you're going into projects, do you wonder why you're not getting premium projects? Think about it. If you went in with that cobwebs in your head, all that stuff, and you're sitting down across from a client that wants to spend $100,000 on a backyard, and that's what's going through your head, what is your likelihood of actually doing that? Is it high or low? That's right. So we need to get rid of that. Because low value is low price. So the lowest value you give to the client, the lower your price is going to be. The higher the value you give, the higher your price can be. This is a value play. That's what I want to land on you guys today. This is about value. It's about learning as contractors, about sales professionals on how to do that. How come your doctor or a lawyer, do they sit around worried about how much they charge? Do you think they care? You want me? You're going to pay for it. Why do they get away with it? Why do they have that insulation around them that people are just used to paying them? Why do contractors constantly get beat up for price? You don't go to your doctor and be like, hey doc, like my leg's broken. You're like, yeah, that's gonna be like 20 grand. And they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go see the other doc. I think he's like 18. Does that ever happen there? Not that I know of, I'm sure it probably has, but so it's not common. Why is it common in the contracting world? Because we let it be common in the contracting. We allow this to be. If we want to be treated like professionals and be paid premium, we need to act accordingly. We need to add more value than they can ever expect. The thing is that we were never taught how to do that. We were taught how to build patios. We were taught how to do all these other things, but never how to add value. You need to become more valuable if you want to make more money. And then the question is, how can I add more value to my ideal customers? Well, some things you don't want to do is wasting time on wrong leads, losing a sale after a great pitch, of course, talking too much, closing too little. Anybody talk too much during their sales presentations? They just run their mouth the whole time? Wes, you're not allowed to put your hand up. He who talks most buys the project. Do you want that to be you? My backyard's pretty cool. I don't need a second one. It's about being quiet. It's about listening. It's about learning great questions to ask and let your client do the talking. Selling features instead of outcomes. Pavers, pools, fire pits, pergolas, whatever. Selling those features. That's great. Customer want features? Do they want more pavers in their backyard? Probably not. What do they want? Why are they hiring you? Experience. They want to be sitting back there drinking their wine, looking out at the sunset, watching little Joey play baseball with his friends in the back and a dog chasing around the other dog. That's what they want. Those are outcomes. They don't want more pavers in their backyard. They don't want more things to maintain. What they want is outcomes. Are you guys selling outcomes? Or are you selling features? They could. But where's your focus? Because features are logical. Would you agree with that? If you go to emotional, what would be something? The outcomes, right? And we're selling emotion, aren't we? Think about that. I know I'm challenging some of you, and this is excellent. This is why I wanted to do this. This is why I wanted to share this conversation, because we don't talk about this in the industry at all. Letting clients control the process. I could spend hours on each of these. Falling victim to the nice guy discount. Anybody recovering people pleaser like me? I thought if I just said yes constantly that it would be simple. When I started digging deeper into the reason why, and I hope this lands on somebody's heart, why I was always the nice guy, always saying yes, never want. I figured it this way: if somebody called me, out of 7 or 8 billion people on the planet, they called me, what would they say if I didn't show up? They called me for something I didn't even do. They called for fence, I did landscaping, whatever. 7, 8 billion people, and they called me. I was so afraid to say no that I couldn't serve them that I would just go out anyway. I had such fear. Anybody feeling this? Where they're just like, look, I gotta go out. Maybe there's something there. Maybe I can resurrect this and make it a project. Really deep down, it was the fact that I didn't like confrontation and I didn't want a bad review. Pitching to one person, come on guys, if you're pitching to one person, you're pitching to the husband or wife, out the other one there, it's suicide. It's not even worth trying. You're gonna spend $100,000 out there, you married men and women, you're gonna spend $100,000 without your spouse being part of that? You have no opportunity to put any kind of impact into the other person. Then you're expecting the husband or wife to be the one that actually goes in and sells for you? That's gonna suck. Get both decision makers. Assuming budget instead of talking about it. Spend days on these things. So yeah, we wanna know a budget. There's great ways of doing that. There's ways that are sleazy as hell. We can work through that. Next. So what closers do? Start by listening more than they talk. They lead sales like a business owner, not an amateur. Design projects that actually light you up. Lead with curiosity. You want to be a detective, guys. You want to be a detective. And I know that's a weird sounding identity, but you want to be a detective. And as a detective, what do? Do you think they assume what the bad guy did? Or do you think they need evidence to back that up? We want to be curious and stand on your value. If you know your worth, you stand with it. You know your numbers. Qualify every lead like your time and your life depends on it. That right there would change your business. To value your time. Charge for your expertise. Don't be afraid. And say no to bad fits and set clear expectations. Ask great questions. That comes with the curiosity as well. All right. I have a mission. I've been in this industry a long time. My mission is clear. I want to see our industry at a 75% close rate. Not 2.5 out of 10, 7.5 or more out of 10. Anybody like that idea? Anybody would really love if they just like, you know what? We're going to close 75%. We're going to be treated like professionals, and we're going to get paid well for it. Anybody up for that future? What do you think has to happen between now and then if that's actually going to be true? If that is actually going to be our future, like the lawyers and the doctors? What do we got to do? We got to change. That's right. 6 inches of real estate. We got to think differently. You guys are super valuable. What you can do with your hands is next to magic. We have to remember that. We aren't just some dumb contractors trying to make some money out there sweating like a bunch of hooligans. That's not what this is. We are changing lives. And until we realize that and internalize that, we're always going to cut our worth down. Think someone else is going to do it cheaper. The only person you're in competition with isn't the guy down the street with the nicer trucks. It's you, yesterday. That is the only thing you focus on when it comes to any kind of competition. It's you, yesterday. You guys feel that? Doesn't it make life a lot easier? You're not watching what he's doing or she's doing or what they're doing. Who cares? They're already way ahead of you anyway, in their own way. You guys, I don't know how many people listen to podcasts, but I got a podcast, been doing it for a couple of years now. I've been blessed to be able to speak to a lot of people. And I've had some great conversations here. And thank you for everyone who came up and talked about the podcast. It means a lot to me. It's my give back to the industry. It's a way to help and share the things, all the decisions that were made, all the stupid mistakes. And you'll figure out pretty quick that I'm a pretty vulnerable guy. I'm going to share what's real. It's going to be raw. It's not some, I got a podcast thing and I got a shirt for it and I can walk around feeling important. That's not what this is for. The amount it takes to make that work is a lot, and I love giving back with that. So that's a great way. Thing is coming up here in December, my first book. I'm working with my editor right now, and we're finalizing 30 years of crazy choices, good choices, all these kinds of things. Focusing around, when I first started, the first letter I got was from the IRS. And they sent me a letter saying, here's how you pay taxes. I'm still waiting 30 years later for the book that says, here's how you run a business, here's how you sell, here's how you communicate. I'm still waiting for that. So I said, you know what, since I'm never going to get it, I'm going to write one. So if you guys want to take it, it's a pre-order. You don't have to buy anything today. All it asks, and in that email, then I'll let you know once it's open. It's going to be on Amazon and all that. It's going to be like $20. I'm not trying to put you in a corner here and say I'm in a $16,000 handbag or something, right? You're like, well, that's nice, dude, but I'm not paying that. My goal here is I believe God's given me all of these experiences, and it's my opportunity to give them back. So you guys can potentially not have the same problems that I did, or maybe learn along the way. Sound good? So if you guys want a copy, just do that, send it over. You're going to see it on Amazon here soon. And this is what it looks like. What's that? Thank you. Phil has read their manuscript. Thank you, sir. So guys, I don't know about you, but this is what life feels like, entrepreneur, right? And you know you're doing it right when that's the way, right? When you're just holding on, when you're just holding on each day, figuring out like, all right, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. I'm doing everything I think. Just always do the next right thing. All right?